They say true love can wait, but what do you really do when the love of your life vanishes into thin air, leaving behind only 24 numbered notes and a terrifying warning? My name is Alina, and this is the story of how a dark family secret almost cost me my life, and how the very last note changed everything. So don't close this video, because you will never guess how this ends. Max and I were together for 2 incredible years, and he was the kind of guy who noticed every little thing, from how I took my coffee to the exact songs that made me smile in the morning. He felt like my ultimate safe haven in my entire world, right up until that fateful Tuesday afternoon when my perfect reality shattered into pieces. I came home from classes to total silence, discovering his phone was dead, with no text messages, no warnings, and all of his clothes completely gone from the closets. The only thing left behind was a wooden box on the kitchen table filled with 24 neatly folded paper airplanes numbered 1 to 24, and a sticky note on top that read, "Read 1 per day. Do not look for me until you finish them all." With shaking hands, I unfolded the very first note, and my eyes blurred as I recognized his elegant handwriting asking me if I remembered our first rainy day together. The first note took me right back to the afternoon we met, where Max wrote about how he fell in love with me at first sight, which was beautiful, but my heart was pounding with pure terror because if he loved me this much, why did he run away? Of course, I wasn't going to sit around passively and wait for 24 days while the person I loved was missing, so I immediately called his best friend, Vlad. But his reaction sent chills straight down my spine when he just sighed heavily and whispered that I needed to do exactly what the note said because it was the only way to keep Max safe, before hanging up on me. By day 5, the sweet romantic memories in the messages completely stopped, and note number 5 turned into a direct, mysterious instruction telling me to look under my bicycle seat. I ran down to our dark, dusty garage, reached under my old bike frame, and my fingers hit something metallic, which turned out to be a tiny, intricate golden key, though I had no idea what it unlocked. That was the exact day the paranoia started kicking in, because everywhere I went, whether it was to the university or just the grocery store, I felt like someone was watching me. To make things worse, every single evening, that exact same black SUV with darkly tinted windows was parked right outside my apartment building, waiting in the shadows. Day 10 brought a note that completely turned my world upside down, with sharp and aggressive handwriting stating that my father knew much more about his disappearance than he let on. My dad never really liked Max, but he was a highly respected businessman in the city, so I couldn't understand what he could possibly have to do with my boyfriend vanishing. When I finally confronted my dad at dinner, he slammed his fist on the table in a rage, screaming that Max was just a coward who ran away from his responsibilities and was trying to frame our family. But as he spoke, I noticed the sudden panic in his eyes and the way his hands visibly trembled, confirming that he was hiding something massive from me. 2 weeks had passed since the disappearance, which felt like absolute psychological torture, and note 12 was a dark riddle that said love requires sacrifice, and sometimes we must let go to save. I sat on the floor of my messy room surrounded by open papers, crying as I realized Max wasn't trying to abandon me, but was actually trying to protect me from my own family. The notes were clearly guiding me toward a specific goal, and note 14 eventually led me back to our favorite spot in a foggy, abandoned park on the edge of town. Underneath some loose, decaying floorboards in the old wooden gazebo, I found a small locked iron box, and when I tried the golden key from the garage, it fit perfectly and clicked open. Inside the iron box were several surveillance photos that left me completely paralyzed with shock, showing my dad handing a heavy briefcase to a notorious criminal leader in a dark alley. This wasn't a simple breakup story anymore, as it became clear that Max hadn't abandoned our relationship, but had accidentally stumbled into a deadly situation. I read note 15 in a total rush, noticing the ink looked hurried and smudged, warning me that if I found the box, the people following me already knew and were tracking my phone. The note told me to get out of the house immediately, and just as I finished reading the words, the lights in my apartment suddenly flickered and went completely black. The glowing screen of my phone was the only thing illuminating my terrified face in the pitch-black room when a blocked number suddenly started calling. I answered with a shaking voice, and a cold, distorted voice on the other end warned me to drop the box immediately if I ever wanted to see my boyfriend breathe again, leaving me with 0 seconds to decide. Instead of going home, I intercepted Vlad at a crowded subway station the next morning, cornering him against the wall and threatening to take everything to the police if he didn't speak. He finally cracked under the pressure and confessed that Max was working as an intern at my dad's logistics firm and had accidentally uncovered a massive money laundering scheme. It turned out my father wasn't just a harsh corporate businessman, but the actual mastermind behind a major criminal syndicate operating in the city. Max had managed to download all of the encrypted financial files onto a single, secure flash drive, giving him the ultimate power to completely destroy my father's empire. Vlad explained the whole truth, revealing that my dad had discovered Max's betrayal and gave him a chilling choice to leave the country, delete the files, and never see me again, or watch his family get hurt. Max chose to disappear to save his own mother and to keep me out of the line of fire, sacrificing his happiness for our safety. But Max didn't back down completely without a backup plan, and Note 20 gave me my ultimate mission, explaining that the backup flash drive with all the evidence was hidden at our old summer cabin. He wrote that if I finally knew the truth, it was time for me to finish what he started and find the drive. I rented a car using cash so I couldn't be tracked, speeding down an isolated forest road toward the cabin as the night grew pitch black around me. Suddenly, two blinding headlights appeared out of nowhere in my rearview mirror, tailing me dangerously close and confirming that my dad's henchmen were hunting me down in the woods. I managed to reach the cabin ahead of them, locking the heavy doors behind me, though I could already hear their footsteps approaching outside on the gravel. I rushed down to the basement using only my phone flashlight, frantically searching through old shelves until my fingers finally wrapped around a small red USB drive hidden inside an old coffee can. Just as I grabbed the drive, the basement door at the top of the stairs creaked open, and heavy, slow boots began descending into the darkness. It was my dad's head of security, and I had to clamp my hand over my mouth behind a stack of wooden crates, praying he wouldn't hear my racing heartbeat as his flashlight scanned the room. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, I managed to quietly squeeze through a tiny, dirty window near the basement ceiling, scraping my shoulder against the rough concrete. I broke into a full sprint through the freezing woods, ignoring the branches scratching my face as I ran for my life, knowing I held the only thing that could save Max. Note 23 told me to make the right choice because his life didn't matter as much as justice did, which led me straight to the Central Police headquarters. Sitting in a sterile interrogation room, I made the hardest decision of my life and handed the red USB drive to the federal authorities, choosing to put my own father behind bars to save the men I loved. A few weeks later, as the investigation concluded, the sun began rising over a beautiful, windy coastal pier where I stood alone, holding the 24th note. My hands were perfectly steady this time as I opened the crisp paper airplane, looking down to see only 4 words written inside, telling me to turn around, my love. I turned around slowly, and there at the end of the pier stood Max, looking tired and bruised from everything he went through, but carrying that exact same warm smile I fell in love with. I dropped the note, ran straight into his arms, and realized that our love had survived the ultimate test. So thank you for listening to my story, and if you believe love conquers all, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment.